So good afternoon, guys, and this is our first time here, so thanks to the organizers for giving us this opportunity. So quickly, we are representing Juniper Networks here, and the product we are going to talk about is OpenContrail. OpenContrail is an open source project for network virtualization. Hello? Hello? So we are representing Juniper here, and we are going to talk about OpenContrail. OpenContrail is an open source project. It's a project for network virtualization. And our approach to network virtualization is by building overlay networks, is by building overlay virtual networks. And to build these overlay virtual networks, we use IPVPN tunnels. And therefore, what we do is packets that have to traverse the physical network are actually put on IPVPN tunnels. So in order to do that, in order to put these traffic in cloud environments and put them on these IPVPN tunnels, we have a kernel module. We've written a kernel module. It's called as vRouter. The vRouter is very analogous to a Linux bridge or an OVS that you might be familiar with. So we've written a substitute, a replacement for the OVS or the Linux bridge. And that vRouter is performing the encapsulation and decapsulation, the activity of putting packets on the VPN tunnels and taking traffic off those VPN tunnels. So this activity is performed as a kernel module in the kernel, and therefore, clearly, it's going to incur some performance penalty. Now, since we are a network virtualization tool, one of our biggest features is in being able to subject selected traffic to selected network services, network functions. That's where the NFV aspect comes into the picture. And for several network functions, performance, especially the packets per second performance, is extremely important. And when the vRouter sits in the kernel and performs this encapsulation, decapsulation in the kernel, that performance penalty impacts that PPS numbers. And therefore, the best way to alleviate that is to take the vRouter and make it a DPDK application and pick up the packets from the NIC in a DPDK mode using the DPDK driver, etc. But why this is interesting is because we need to sit in the data path, actually act on the packets that arrive on the physical NIC, perform this kind of encapsulation, decapsulation, flow lookups, apply some security policies, and then hand the packets to the actual destination to which the traffic is meant to be. So that's what makes this particular application interesting. And to talk about the specifics of our integration with DPDK, I would like to pass on the mic to my colleague Raja over here.
Hi, I'm Rajan, and I work in the Contrail team on the network virtualization solution. So as Aniket mentioned, ours is a network virtualization solution. So you can create virtual networks that are decoupled from the physical networks. So you can provision new applications or new tenants without having to modify anything in the physical network infrastructure. So no new VLANs or security policies need to be applied on the physical infrastructure. And it's done on the virtual network instead. And the way we do that is by using overlay tunnels. And we support multiple encapsulations on the wire. We support MPLS over GRE, MPLS over UDP, and also VXLAN tunnels. So one of our important objectives was to make sure that there is no significant performance degradation as a result of using the overlay tunnels. And we've done a bunch of work towards that. So in today's talk, I'll focus on where we started, which is with a kernel module. So the vRouter would sit inside the Linux kernel. And I'll talk about our experiences with that and what some of the issues were and what the motivations were with respect to moving towards DPDK, and also our experience with integrating the vRouter with DPDK. So this picture here has the vRouter implementation in kernel. So as you can see, inside the kernel, there is a vRouter module, and it interfaces with a user space agent. And this agent is responsible for programming the vRouter with whatever is needed to forward packets, things like interfaces, routes, next hops, flows. And that happens through a netlink system call. And there is also a Nova agent, which is the component of OpenStack that is involved on the compute node when a new virtual machine is spawned on that server. So the user space agent interacts with the Nova agent, and it also interacts with the vRouter kernel module to program the forwarding tables. So the vRouter kernel module takes over the physical interface. So any packets that arrive on the interface are handled by the kernel module. And these might be overlay packets. These might be non-overlay packets too. So if it is an overlay packet, then depending on what the MPLS label is, vRouter decides which virtual machine that packet needs to be forwarded to. And if it happens to be a non-overlay packet, it would just send it to the host network stack. And in the other direction, the VM uses standard VirtIO front-end drivers, and that interfaces with the vHostNet process inside the host kernel, which in turn sends the packets over the tap interfaces for that VM. And vRouter hooks onto the tap interfaces. So any packets sent on the tap interfaces would be handled by vRouter. And if they need to be encapsulated before being sent on the wire, that would be done by vRouter, and the packet would be sent on the wire. So when we first implemented this, our initial throughput numbers were quite low. On a 10 gig link, we were getting less than a gigabit per second. And then we made a bunch of performance optimizations. For example, we modified libvirt to support vHostNet with Ethernet type interfaces. We also modified we updated the kernel module to use receive packet steering inside the kernel, so that we could use multiple CPU cores when processing packets. And another change we made was to enable support for segmentation and receive offloads. So the VM can send a large TCP segment up to 64K. And for non-overlay scenarios today, many NICs are capable of segmenting TCP segments into smaller segments on the wire, but most NICs cannot handle overlays. There have been some NICs that have been introduced in the last couple of years that can do it for selective scenarios like VXLAN, but this work was done even before that. And even today, what you can do for MPLS is still quite restricted. So what we did inside the kernel module is to segment the large 64K segment into smaller MSS size segments, and then the overlay tunnel would be applied on each of those smaller segments by vRouter, and then the packet would be sent on the wire. And with those performance enhancements, we are able to achieve line rate TCP throughput on a 10 gig link. And on a 2 by 10 gig lag, we're able to get up to 16 to 17 gigabits per second. So that's good for applications which require TCP termination, things like web servers. If that's what is running inside the VM, that's usually good. But where it falls short is for network functions virtualization. So if the application running inside the VM is a packet processing application, for example, a firewall or a load balancer or things like that, the number of packets per second that we can push through the kernel module is quite small. So for example, between two VMs running on different servers going through vRouter in the kernel, we are not able to get more than 500,000 packets per second, which is quite small. And that was one of our main motivations for moving to DPDK, to support VNFs running inside VMs, which need to handle a large number of packets per second. I think we can skip this. I think everybody here is familiar with DPDK. So this is the same picture, but with vRouter now integrated with DPDK. So we still have a user space agent which interacts with vRouter to program the forwarding state. Whereas previously we used netlink system calls to do that, we now have a TCP connection from the agent to the vRouter process. It's now a process in user space, and that process integrates with the DPDK library. And we still have the Nova agent, and that part doesn't change. But we no longer have tap interfaces because vRouter integrates with the VM using the vhost user functionality that was introduced in QEMU not too long ago. So the entire memory of the virtual machine is mapped into the address space of the vRouter process, and vRouter can copy packets back and forth between its address space and the VM. And with this solution, there is no kernel module. So if you choose to have KNI, which is an option, to send packets to the host network stack, we would have a kernel module for that, but it's not mandatory. And there is no vRouter functionality inside the host kernel. This is a bit more details on the internals of the vRouter process. So we can have multiple logical cores, each handling a separate queue on the NIC. And this is done using the poll mode driver in DPDK. And these logical cores also poll the VirtIO rings inside the VM. So with the vhost user functionality, the QEMU process sends messages to vRouter to tell it where the VM's memory is, and vRouter maps that memory into its address space. And so the same logical cores which poll the queues on the NIC also poll the VirtIO rings. And the forwarding table, the internal forwarding state is populated by the vRouter agent, and those messages are sent over a TCP connection. And we also have a user space vhost server inside the vRouter process. So that's a separate thread which talks to the QEMU instance to set up the memory maps inside vRouter. And there is also a PKT0 interface, and that is used to send the first packet of flows to the user space agent, so that the flow table can be set up inside vRouter. So once we moved to the once we integrated vRouter with DPDK, our packets per second number is much higher. So for the same scenario where we got 500,000 packets with the kernel module, once we integrated with DPDK, we are able to get more than 8 million packets per second. But one of the downsides is that the TCP throughput is not as good as what we could get with the kernel module. So because with the kernel module, we're able to invoke Linux APIs to do the TCP segmentation. And in the other direction, when packets are received from the wire, we are able to use the receive offload functionality in Linux. So we are able to make those kernel API calls to aggregate multiple small segments into a larger segment. And that reduces the number of VM exits because we're not transitioning between host and guest as often. But those APIs are not yet available with DPDK. So you can do that for non-overlay packets if the NIC supports it, but it's not yet available for doing segmentation and receive offload in software. So we are actually working on adding that functionality to segment packets, and when packets are received from the wire, to aggregate smaller segments into larger segments. And if there is interest, we would like to contribute it to DPDK, to the library. And if there's anybody else in the community that's working on it, we're happy to collaborate with you. And if you have any comments or feedback, we are welcome to taking your feedback. The other things that we're working on is multi-queue VirtIO. So the numbers that I mentioned today were with single queue VirtIO interfaces. And we are now in the process of adding support for multi-queue VirtIO, both with the kernel module and also with DPDK. And we expect that our numbers should be slightly better with that. The other thing I wanted to mention is that we depend on the VM also running a DPDK application. If the VM is running a standard socket-based application, we don't see any significant improvement in the packets per second number. So the scenario for optimal performance is the VM is running a DPDK application, and the host is also using vRouter with DPDK. And one other thing that we're working on at the moment is to investigate what offloads can be used on the NIC. There are many different NICs that support various capabilities at the moment. So we are trying to come up with some hooks inside vRouter that, without tying ourselves to any specific NIC hardware, we want to expose some hooks that would allow us to make use of the offload features on the new NICs that are coming out. And that is pretty much all I had. I think we can skip these details. The other thing I wanted to mention is that we are an open source project, so all of our source code is available on opencontrail.org, and we have a number of blogs there. We have some blogs about the integration of vRouter with DPDK2. And we don't have a separate open source product and a commercial product. Whatever is available in open source is the commercial product. So I welcome you to take a look at opencontrail.org. That's our website. Thank you.
Is a DPDK vRouter now available?
Yes,
in OpenContrail?
Yes, so we had a release earlier this year, first quarter, and with that, the vRouter with DPDK is available. Yes.
All right, thank you.
Thanks very much.